Last time out on the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship, heavy rain made the stages a real challenge for the competitors, and the returning Frank Bird had some stiff competition from the local specialists, but proved untouchable in his Ford Focus WRC. Mike English was the man to watch in Class C, but there was a battle royale in Class D1 with three competitors separated by just 1 second. Let's see how the drama unfolds this time out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are joining us for round 4 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. What a day it is for the MGJ Engineering Brands Hatch Winter Stages. It is going to be a fab forecast, but stage 1 is going to be definitely all down to tyre choice because it is very slippy underfoot. Mike Taylor is currently leading the championship overall, but Frank Bird and Jack Morton are going to be clawing back those points today. It is all to play for still. Paul, let's get straight over to you. What's going on out there?
Thanks, Sam. What a beautiful, sunny but very cold morning it is in Kent. Let's look through some of the entries, starting with Class A. Current Class Championship leaders Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin have made the long journey down from Scotland for this one, but they'll be hard pushed by rivals Adam and Ray Ripper. Kay Thompson and Charlotte Wainwright are one of the several Nissan Micras in this class. In Class B, Championship leaders Chris Ruck and Steve Harris were beaten by Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish in the rain at Knockhill. Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst are right in there in the championship standings too, and they'll have another MX-5 to battle with at Brands Hatch as Ben Short and Hannah Chislett compete in the event. The ever-competitive Class C always provides great action. Joshua and Tamsin Davey have the pace, but will Darian be reliable after retiring from the past 2 events? Mike English and Kathy Seward and Blair Thompson and their co-drivers are all closely bunched in the standings. In D1, Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart not only lead the class but the overall championship standings too. But Paul Morrow and Callum Cross have been right up there each time out, as have Michael Walton and Jamie Vaughan. Frank Bird and Jack Morton have been flying in Class D2, but after retirement at Alton Park and not being able to compete at Cadwell, they are third in the standings behind the leaders Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth. Paul Smith and Dale Bowen have a distinctive Ford Fiesta R5, so look out for that one as the stage gets underway. Stages 1 and 2 begin down on the Brands Hatch Rally School before racing through the lower paddock and onto the circuit itself. There are some tricky hairpins and the surface is icy to start the day off, so the drivers will need all of their skill to start the day with a good time. Getting us started as the number 1 seed were Frank Bird and Jack Morton. You can see how frosty it is out there, and this would catch Frank out. A slight run in with some of the barriers causing damage to the right front, as you can see in this shot. The difficult conditions meant they would finish only 7th fastest on the opening stage. On board with Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins in their Darien T90 GTR Plus. Watch how tentative Barry is, having to be with the steering and throttle. And when he gets it onto the straight, the car's sliding all the way up through 5th gear despite short shifting. Mega. Leading the way with Joshua and Tamsin Davey. Would their day be full of bad luck, or would they hold on to a well-earned victory? On board with Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth in their Mitsubishi Evo, the R5 ahead is sideways all the way around Druids on the icy surface. Even in a straight line, the car doesn't want to grip. Quickest of the D2 competitors were Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon in their Proton Satria with a Millington engine, just 2 seconds behind the Davies. You can't miss Christopher and Anthony Newton in their very orange Vauxhall Nova. And yes, 22nd seed is right. This car is stupidly fast and taking advantage of the ever-improving conditions. The Class A pair were a remarkable 5th quickest overall. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross were lighting up the wheels off the line and leading Class D, albeit by just 2 seconds after the opening stage. Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish were where they wanted to be as well. Class B contenders finishing stage 1 faster than all of their rivals. Sadly, we'd only see Chris Ruck and Steve Harris for one stage, technical problems causing their retirement from the event, and it was a similar story for Gavin Thompson and Simon Golding, who suffered a drive shaft problem and would also pack up earlier than planned. Straight on to stage 2, and Frank Bird and Jack Morton were a remarkable 64 seconds quicker on this stage than the start of the day. They were vaulted right into the lead of the rally, and you can see just how hard they were pushing now conditions had thawed. In second place, both in the D2 and overall, were Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon, but even at this stage, they were 14 seconds behind Bird and Morton, so they had plenty to do if they wanted a challenge for the win. Fighting to make up time lost on the slippery opening stage were Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth. Let's go on board with the pair to see how they were coping. I'd say pretty mint, actually. Third in D2 were Darryl Taylor and Stephen McNulty in another Mitsubishi Evo, just 4 seconds behind Wells and Holdsworth. I did say Paul Smith and Dale Bowen had a cool livery on their Ford Fiesta R5. This duo were also shooting back up the times after the ice start to the day. A little further back was the Subaru Impreza of Neil Bowman and Dylan Thomas, who lost a small amount of time when they were tackling the tricky tight hairpin at the end of the pit lane, as our camera caught. Wasn't too bad though. Slipping and sliding around the rally school section were Tim Self and Ian Davis, the number 3 seed. They'd be disappointed to be 7th in D2, but there was plenty of time left to close that gap up. Another Impreza, this one belonging to Ryan Moore and Peter Kettle, was up next. They almost didn't make the hairpin at the end of the main straight, but just about got it stopped in time. Nice work. Lee and Louise Allen were 5th of the championship point scorers in their Evo 3. Let's go on board with a different sort of angle, watching Lee at work behind the wheel. Busy hands and feet for sure there, Lee. Steve Finch and Sam Forden were also climbing back up the times in their Fiesta R5. We saw these guys struggling on the icy surface earlier on, and it was a frustrating 3-point turn that didn't help matters either. Wayne and Archie LaBallestia were in another Evo 3, doing the smart thing and letting a quicker car past, minimising any potential loss of time in the process. Evos were definitely a popular car for this event. Ian and Will Barkley were out in an Evo 6, but that white colour scheme definitely needs some muck and mud on it. Far too clean, fellas. Equal on times, also in an Evo 6, were David Daniel and Matt Suttonwood. Neat, tidy, great driving. Slipping and a sliding on the really tricky rally school section were Sean and Colin Quigley in their Impreza. And a slight kiss of the barrier cost them a few seconds, and it was a new headlight too. Leading Class C and quickest overall were Gary Mason and John Matthews in their Ford Escort. The car is seldom in a straight line, but it never seems to slow them up. Back on board with Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins, who are about to encounter an unusual extra obstacle on the stage with technical gremlins striking again. Joshua Davey does a really nice job of getting out the way without costing the pair too much time at all. Still in the lead of Class A were Christopher and Anthony Newton in their rather rapid Nova. 6th quickest overall is an excellent result after 2 stages. Also remaining in the lead of Class B were Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish, but they were being closed in on by Ben Short and Hannah Chislett, so definitely couldn't relax. Though the MX5 pair lost some time with this slight detour. No worries though, it wasn't in front of the cameras, honest. Also going for a spin quite literally were Josh Brown and David Bowen in their Escort. Let's join Sam, who's chatting with some of the guys in the service area.
Talk us through how your morning's been so far. I know that it was a little bit slippy out there first thing.
Yeah, it's been better than expected, to be honest. So it was super slippy on the first stage, so we'd went on full wet tyres. We actually set a really good time on the first stage, so we were sitting 14th equal overall and first in class. We dropped down a little bit, I think, on that second stage there, but it is starting to dry up, so the cars with more power are starting to kind of catch us, I think.
So we're here with Frank Bird and Jack Morton. Talk us through stage 1.
Yeah, stage 1 was a little bit tricky, really. Being the first car, it was lethal out there. It was so icy, so it was just getting better all through for the other cars as well. So now we've done stage 2, it's pretty much all dry now, so getting better and going back in the lead now.
So Mike, just talk us through how your morning's been so far. I mean, couldn't be different, you know, to what it was like up at Knock Hill, could it? Couldn't be any more different.
No, we're just about dried out now after Knock Hill.
Right.
So first stage was not very good, and we were 25th. So we took 51 seconds out on the second stage and moved up a bit. So a bit of a better second stage, but still not very good.
Yeah.
So we'll try some harder tyres and see what happens.
So we are joining Mike English and Andy Robinson. Guys, how's your morning been so far?
Okay, so far, yeah, slippery on the first stage. A lot of ice around, so we stumbled across that on the circuit, and the car was twitching all over the place, but we just managed to hang on to it to get around the slippery bits. And then second stage, much quicker, much more grip.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. There was just no grip out there at all.
Thanks, Sam. Here's how things stood after the opening 2 stages. Christopher Newton and Anthony Newton in their Vauxhall Nova heading the way in Class A. 32 seconds behind Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin in the Ford Puma. 44 seconds to find for Adam and Ray Ripper. Class B, Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish leading the way, but it was exactly the same time for Ben Short and Hannah Chisler in their Mazda MX-5. Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst were there also in their MX-5, 9 seconds behind in 3rd place. In Class C, Gary Mason and John Matthews in their Ford Escort, they were leading the way. Ashley Davis and Freddie Hewitt only 6 seconds behind in the Peugeot 205 with the Ford Escort of Josh Brown and David Bowen in 3rd place. In Class D1, it was that rapid Darien T90 GTR Plus of Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins who were leading the way. Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones in their Ford Escort Mark II, 14 seconds behind, with Stephen and Jack Tilburn in their Escort just a second behind them in 3rd. In Class D2, it was the deadly duo of Frank Bird and Jack Morton in their Ford Focus who were leading the way. Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon 12 seconds behind in the Proton Satria Millington. Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth in their Mitsubishi Evo in 3rd. Overall, and you can see for yourself, different classes mixing the way up, but it was Frank Bird and Jack Morton leading the way, Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon in the Proton Satria 2nd, Gary Mason and John Matthews in the Ford Escort in 3rd. Join us after the break for more action from Brands Hatch. Welcome back to a cold, crisp Kent for the MGJ Engineering Brands Hatch winter stages. 2 stages have been completed. The competition is heating up, so let's see what's up next. Stages 3 and 4 start on the racing circuit's Grand Prix loop before tackling the Indy circuit. We'll head down through the lower paddock and onto a tricky, tight and very slippery rally school to finish up. Running through Class D1, Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins continued to build an impressive lead, and they were second fastest overall to match. You can see from the body language of the car just how much the pair are pushing. Holding on to second place in D1 with championship regulars Stephen and Jack Tilburn in their Ford Escort RS 2500. A strong finish today could help put them right back in the championship contention, so they couldn't relax. Putting on a show with a lovely slide through the hairpin was Paul Morrow and Callum Cross, just 7 seconds behind the Tilburns. They too could smell some solid points in both the main championship and the Michelin Cup. Taking a more sedate line but keeping the speed up was another Escort, this one in the hands of Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones. Sadly, the day would be cut short after this stage with an electrical problem. Check out this shot. Sean Weston and Dean Mevo absolutely flying down paddock and over the jump. Outstanding stuff, lads. Just 20 seconds covered 2nd to 6th in class, with Michael Walton and Jamie Vaughan also enjoying a strong start to the day in their Escort, though this moment right beneath one of our cameras cost the duo a few seconds. Next up were Paul Sharp and Kevin Ablett, who sadly retire on stage 4 with significant right front damage. Fighting to regain time after contact with Richard Wells, Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart were further down the order than they wanted to be as they battled damage from that incident. John Spears and Howard Pridmore turned a few heads with their lovely Porsche 911. They'd go on to finish a respectable 8th in D1 at the end of the day. Narrowly behind was Seamus Morris and Jarlath Kelly. In fact, both of these crews would battle throughout the day, with the Darien pair here coming out on top with a 7th place result when all was done and dusted. Dean Fewings and Barry Saker provided a nice soundtrack to the day with their Triumph TR7 powered by a V8 engine. Ciro Chiarianti and Simon Coates were also further down than they wanted to be after being awarded a max time for stage 2, though their time for this stage was up with the top 5 in class. Leading overall and extending their lead were Frank Bird and Jack Morton, and with a 30-second advantage over the 3 stages, it was starting to look like it'd be difficult for anyone to catch the pair. 4th overall and fastest in Class C were Gary Mason and John Matthews, still power sliding their Ford Escort around the Kent venue and catching some serious air over that jump too. Check this out. Leading by some margin in Class A were locals Christopher and Anthony Newton in the indecently quick Vauxhall Nova, 7th overall at this point. Starting to once again suffer gearbox woes, Joshua and Tamsin Davey did a sterling job of spinning themselves out of the way of the Tilburns. Moving swiftly onto stage 4, Gary Mason and John Matthews still held top spot in Class C in their Escort. Let's take a ride on board with the duo. Not far behind were Ashley Davis and Freddie Hewitt in their Peugeot 205, catching a slower competitor in this tight section. They quickly moved past and kept the pressure on the class leaders. Third in class were Roland and Stuart Brown in a Ford Escort. Next up were Nick Whale and Paula Swinscoe in a Ford Escort RS 1800. Nick giving that car the proper amount of sideways down the rally school section. Top man. James Slaughter generously put a co-drive seat up for raffle in his Escort, raising over £2,000 for Heart of Kent Hospice. Behind them, Tim Hewitt and Liz Jordan were hanging their back out in their Ford Escort 2. Losing a bit of time on stage 3, Mike English and Andy Robinson's Turquoise Terror was a solid third of the championship competitors, though they would agonisingly retire after 7 of the day's 8 stages. Vince Sillett and Ollie Matthews were running well, however, and would end the day inside the top 20 overall and score second place in the championship points in Class C. A great result for the pair. Experienced competitor Nigel Greensall was back. He's also taken a solid result at the end of the day with 8th in class. Ben Gill and David Didcock were enjoying a consistent run in their Ford Escort, just managing to get the power down here, while Martin Ellis and Clive Leatherby were just 6 seconds behind them after 4 stages and would just pip them to 10th in class at the end of the day. On board with Kathy Seward, who was about to lose a bunch of time right at the end of stage 4. Kathy would get the car going again, but would have to watch class rival Gary Mason shoot past, which wouldn't have helped her mood. Army Motorsport duo Blair and Shannon Thompson were locked in a tight battle for 7th place of the championship competitors in their Renault Clio, keeping out of the drama for another great result. Equal on time with them at this point were attorneys Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen in the Puma. These two were always trying to put on a show for the spectators, both at the rallies and for everybody watching here on the TV. John and Rachel McCullough were just behind them in their Mark II Escort, 1 second ahead of James Muir and Hugh Holdaway in their Can't Miss It Yellow Astra. Charles and Oliver de Garston were also in an Escort, the car well suited to the Brands Hatch stages, while Mike Webb and Steve Noble's Ford Fiesta was giving them a run for their money. Another GT86 was in the hands of David Huxley and Paul Spooner, who'd finished the event inside the top 20. The VW Mark II of David Hockaday and Steve Frost was up next, 1 second in front of Neil McMahon and David Boshear's Ford Escort. A more classic Mark I variant belonged to Ian Dalgleish and Gordon McCulloch, just 1 second behind. That car was a very different Escort. The more modern Mark VI entered by Tudor Davis and Rob Clark. Stephen and Melissa Hall were a little further back in their Ford Fiesta, while Tom Grant and Michael Spicer were, you guessed it, 1 second behind. Tony Carianti and Tom Murphy, seen last year in a Subaru, were trying one of Paul Sheard's MX-5s, and they were enjoying it so much they decided to do a gymkhana at the end of the stage. Mark Wade and Jonathan Williams would also finish inside the top 20 in their Vauxhall Chevette after a solid day. Paul Fern and Will Brown also picked up some good championship points, leaving the event inside the top 10. The same was also true for Paul Quinnell and Darren Jackson in their Peugeot 205 GTI. Mark Coleman and Robert Best were supporting cancer research. They'd managed to overhaul Quinnell and Jackson at the end of the day. Giro Carianti and Simon Coates, they'd retired during this stage with an engine problem.
Kathy, Colin, you guys were having a really good day, completely mixed actually with the Team Lotus bits, isn't it, today? But talk us through your day.
Well, the first stage obviously was very slippery for everyone. So we thought we'd really attack stage 4. Was flying around on the circuit, doing really well, thinking, yeah, I'm doing really well. When I on the rally stage, the very last bend, I couldn't get it round. It was understeering off, so I just like really booted it and then did a half spin and then stalled it. So I sat there for like 10 seconds trying to get it going again and had to watch Gary Mason come round and come past me and then follow him into the finish. So we've probably lost a good 15, maybe 20 seconds there. But the clutch is playing up a little bit at the moment. It's not kind of engaging or disengaging properly. It's all right when I'm out on the circuit with a flat shift, but when I'm trying to do other stuff, it's a bit hard. But hopefully we'll finish the day and just grab some points again. Yeah. So, yeah.
So we're here with Richard Wells, who's just going to talk us through this, basically. Just tell us what happened.
Yeah, I think we came out and I was with the car in front, and I think we were pretty much similar speed, but I think we just had a bit of a run on him down the hill, and then coming back onto the straight here, he kind of pulled right, which I thought was letting me through, and I moved onto the wet line, locked up, went straight on, and it turned into me. So shame really. I think we lost 30 seconds, and it's knocked the geometry out on the car, which obviously we're suffering with now, but hopefully the boys will have a look at it and try and get it sorted.
We've just been talking, you seem to have a good stage and a bad stage and a good stage and a bad stage. It seems to be like you're just bouncing up and down the leaderboard a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, stage one, we were just stuck behind the car for 2 laps, so there was nothing we could do there, so we just dropped loads of time, dropped right down there, and it was so icy as well, you know, so, and then coming into the second stage, I think we're third fastest time, and then obviously the incident there, and so it is kind of like that. I'm hoping for a clean run this afternoon after lunch.
Well, it's dried up now, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a good few clean stages.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks, Sam.
So I'm Mike, obviously it's my car and driver. Jamie is a navigator. Yeah, just settled into a championship really, first sort of full season with the car. Been really enjoying it. Championship's been good, apart from the weather.
Well, and yeah, you have been having a good day so far, haven't you? Apart from stage 3, just talk us through stage 3.
Stage 3, as we went into the rally school area, Jamie was telling me to slow up, and I didn't really listen too much, and it was all a bit quick and messy, and yeah, luckily we didn't collect anything on the way through, but we survived, so we were a bit slower that stage into it. But other than that, no, it's been very good.
So driver not listening then?
I think it was more a case of the car not wanting to slow down. Yeah, it was a little bit quick in there, but it only shows you're trying, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No.
But apart from that, we're having a good clean run, touch wood. Be nice. It's nice to see dry. Nice to see a bit of sun anyway. But now it's going all right, so let's hope it stays like that way.
We are now just at the end of stage 4, starting the lunch break. What a morning it has been. There has been thrills and spills. I don't think there's that many cars without some kind of bump somewhere, so it's definitely been interesting. Paul, what's been happening?
Great stuff, Sam. Here's how things stood after 4 stages. In Class A, Christopher and Anthony Newton have opened their lead now by over 1 minute. Behind them, championship contenders Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin have a small advantage over Adam and Ray Ripper, so they'll have to be on their toes. Ben Short and Hannah Chisler top the times in Class B, but just 1 second separates Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish and Ben and Luke Dawson, competing in very different machinery. Gary Mason and John Matthews lead Class C with a healthy lead over Ashley Davis and Freddie Hewitt. Just 30 seconds cover 2nd to 7th place. So a couple of strong stages for any one of these pairs. This could really shake things up. After a strong start, Class D1 is led by Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins in their Darien T90 GTR Plus. Best of the rest are the Tilbans, who have a 5-second lead over Paul Morrow and Callum Cross. After contact, Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart are almost 90 seconds off the lead, but expect them to fight back for the rest of the day. Frank Bird and Jack Morton are running away with it in Class D2 after the slippery opening stages. Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon are keeping them honest though in their Proton Satira, and they too have a big lead over the Evo and R5 tied on times behind. In the overall standings, Bird and Morton lead from Morris and Hutchins, with Robinson and Witherspoon close behind. Mason and Matthews are having a storming morning in 4th place. Don't go anywhere, we've got 4 more stages to go at Brands Hatch. Welcome back to round 4 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship, the MGJ Engineering Brands Hatch Winter Stages. We're halfway through the event, so let's see what happens next for all the competitors and spectators. Stages 5 and 6 once again begin on the start of the circuit's Grand Prix loop, but this time they'll head straight into the back of the pit lane, heading around in the opposite direction to this morning before tackling the Indy circuit the right way around. After 2 laps of that, once more the competitors will head down through the paddock and on to the rally school. Leading Class B by half a minute were Ben Short and Hannah Chisler in their Mazda MX-5, having set the fastest time in class over stages 3, 4 and 5. They'd surely be favourites to take the win on this form. Ben and Luke Dawson gave Short and Chislett a run for their money earlier on, and despite a bit of front right damage picked up in the morning, would be a threat throughout the afternoon. Leading the championship contenders, Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish were third in class, but content to sit where they were, aiming to capitalise on that stage 1 retirement for title rivals Ruck and Harris, though the left-hand wing mirror was a casualty on this stage. Hot on their heels were the Paul Sheard pair of Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst. Consistent performers, they were also well in the Class B championship fight, so would be wanting to catch Morris and McTavish if they could. Another possible dark horse for the championship is Mark Peterson, driving at Brands Hatch with Laura Christmas alongside him in their Citroen C2R2 Max. They were third of the point scorers and keeping that pressure on those ahead of them. Caught behind Pedals Thompson and Dick Athos escort here, Chris Keys and James Riley were next up in their Peugeot 205 GTI, and they'd finish the day a very good fourth of the Class B runners. Connor Tolson and Brian Leara were close behind in their Ford Fiesta. Taking drop scores into account, they could also be title contenders with a clean run to the end of the season. A bit further back were Paul Mayhew and Vince Bristow, also in a 205 GTI. Unfortunately, Howard Alexander and Callum Young would come to a halt in their Ford Focus, eventually retiring from the event. Throwing up the dust whilst they were leading the way overall still, with a virtually unstoppable Frank Bird and Jack Morton showing no respect for the poor cones in a puddle in front of our camera here. You do know that they cost £12 each, Frank. Gamely keeping the pressure on and continuing to open up their lead in Class D1 were Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins in their Darien T90 GTR Plus. Also keeping a 4-second gap over Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon for second overall. Leaders of Class C and fourth overall remain Gary Mason and John Matthews. Let's join them on board on the end of the tricky stage here on the rally school and watch how hard Gary is working. They made it look easy, but you can just see how tough it is to hustle a car around here quickly. Doing just that still were Christopher and Anthony Newton in Class A. Local knowledge or not, their performance was mighty impressive. Meanwhile, Ron Walker did well just about to catch this moment in front of the Pentagon. Only the barriers suffered this time. Onto stage 6, and running through the Class A cars, that orange Nova was still well in charge, almost 2 minutes clear, even though they politely moved aside for another car. Second in class and first of the championship entrants were Adam and Ray Ripper with their Nissan Micra. If they could keep this up, it would pull them even closer into contention for the championship lead. Only 5 seconds behind were Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin leading Class A championship standings. Unfortunately, a max time on the final stage would drop them back a few places. Another Micra was fourth, this one belonging to Oliver and Simon Howard, who had finished the day third in Class A, and just behind them was a Ford Fiesta of Rob Jones and Tony Archer. The Austin Mini of Alec Holden and Stephen Fenwick was up next, battling away while another Micra, this time in the hands of Barry and Oliver Marshall, was chasing them down. Kay Thompson and Charlotte Wainwright were third of the championship point scorers, also in their usual Nissan Micra. A solid finish in this event would put Kay firmly in 5th place in Class A. Continuing the run of Micras were James Hardy and Nick Wilkins. A good end to the day for this duo would help them claim third of the championship finishes, putting James third in the standings. As the sun started to set over Brands Hatch, Frank Bird and Jack Morton romped on, taking their 5th straight stage victory and leading the event by almost 80 seconds. This still not slowing Frank down though, the teenager thoroughly enjoying his day's rallying. Opening up their gap to third overall to 7 seconds and leading Class D1 were Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. If they could bring their Darien home, it would be a maiden podium finish for Barry, so there was plenty at stake. On board now with Class C leaders Gary Mason and John Matthews now. Let's take a ride around Brands Hatch with them in their Ford Escort as they were being chased in the overall standings by the Ford Fiesta R5 of Paul Smith and Dale Bowen. Leading Class B were still Ben Short and Hannah Chislett, who are about to have an interesting moment. Let's see what happens. I think Ben was pretty proud of that. Let's join up with Sam in the service area once again.
We're here with Adam Ripper. Adam, just talk us through your day. Have you had a good day today?
We've had a very good day actually. It was quite slippy in the morning. I think everyone found it like that. But towards the afternoon it's dried up and we've been able to push a bit more, and now we're second in class, so going pretty well. It's been nice. It's been nice to have a day where it's not like tipping it down and it's sunny and it's nice and dry, and it's a nice atmosphere really. I think it's nice when it's sunny.
Yes.
I think we can all agree on that. But
certainly after Knock Hill, we didn't have the best one up at Knock Hill, did we?
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I did watch the highlights, and it looked like it was more water than anything else actually. So
driving wind and rain, you're not missing. Yeah, no, you're fine. So we are here with Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. How's your day going, guys?
Yeah, so far so good. The weather is a big help. It's nice to get a dry event. So no, just keep doing what we're doing.
Tom, what about from your side of the car?
Yeah, really good. Well, loving the dry conditions rather than like the hurricane that we had at Knock Hill. But yeah, no, really good. Lost a little bit of time on the last couple of stages, stuck behind somebody, but that's single venue rallying for you.
We're here with Ryan Connolly. Ryan, it is so good to have you back. We've missed you for the last round. Just tell us a little bit about what's been going on with the car.
Re-engineered. A little bit badly for me, got to be honest. I've got to live by the spanner, die by the spanner. So I did a steering column upgrade for it because it was awful, the one that was on it last year. Got the calc slightly wrong, so it was really tight in its joints. And so today is effectively a shakedown for that, and it's took 6 stages. But I fixed it, and I just came 5th in that one. So yeah, no, it's good. I've really missed being out, but business commitment and priorities from our British GT side of it for last year, and then what's happening in the workshop going forwards, that had to take precedence. You know, you got to work hard before you play hard. But the boys and I, we couldn't wait to be getting back out. So here we are, and yeah, Race Performance Puma back doing its thing, and hopefully making everybody happy. No, I did put the car up for sale, and as I did it because it again means to an end for a situation that was presented to us from racing that we had no control over ultimately. So you have to accept these things as they happen. But equally, I had a couple of phone calls from people because obviously championship winning car, it's a one-off. It really is, but it's awesome. But I went on the phone to one person. I was like, you know what? I'm not selling this. And we carried on. We're in now. We've booked entries for the rest of the season. So I think it's a little bit too little too late for us to try and get the championship back because obviously we missed Alton and we missed Knock Hill, so we're 2 rounds down. But and today is effectively a write-off for us because the first 6 stages, like I say, it's just been trying to get it where it needs to be. But now it is. Yeah, no, I've missed you guys, missed the championship, missed the venues and what we do for us. It's really good. Hopefully we'll get some more silverware. We'll go for silverware. But what that does mean, Sam, style points. Because if we're not in for a championship, and now I can steer it properly, it's got to be style points, hasn't it? It's got to be.
I'm not going to lie, we would be incredibly disappointed. We will rely on you for those style points. Forget about the championship, you go for those style points. We very much look forward to seeing that for the rest of the championship. Thank you very much.
No stress.
So we're here with Stephen and Jack Tilburn. What a difference it is weather-wise to Knock Hill, isn't it? Has it made a massive difference for you guys?
Yeah, it's the first time we've had our dry tyres on for a little while. Lovely to get those expensive wets off. And yeah, fantastic. We were soaked to the skin at Knock Hill all day. Going there, getting there, coming home, and it's just beautiful today. A little bit of frost this morning just to keep us on our toes, but yeah, it's been beautiful. But we're a bit up and down today. I don't quite know what's going on. The stages that we felt really quick on, we're back on everyone else. The stages we felt cautious on, we've gone well. So I don't know. Perhaps we've just got to get used to the dry again. Maybe.
I mean, the back end of these are kind of renowned for not always wanting to stay in a straight line, aren't they? So I certainly don't think this morning will help.
No, well, we thought we'd kept the wet option tyre on. We thought they'd gone off because the car felt like it was all over the place on the rally stage, which the wet tyre option should have worked really well on. Came in, changed them for something harder, went out again, and it was even worse. So put them back on again. It's been great. So, but just that rally bit, it just throws you because where the soft tyre should be really good, they're not quite as good as a hard tyre. So I don't know. Perhaps it's like I say, we've just got to get used to the dry again.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. The rest of the championship will be dry now. Hopefully, we've come out the other end, but we shall see. And we'll see you at Cadwell Park in a few weeks.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Cheers.
Great stuff. Thanks, Sam. The Newtons now lead by over 2 minutes in Class A, a quite remarkable performance. The tight battle between the championship competitors has swung the way of Adam and Ray Ripper in the past 2 stages, but Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin will try and fight back before the end of the day. Ben Short and Hannah Chislett survived that 360 to remain in the leader Class B, while Ben and Luke Dawson have pulled away from the leading championship point scorers Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish, who have just 1 second over Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst. In Class C, Gary Mason and John Matthews have a 41-second lead over Ashley Davis and Freddie Hewitt. Current Class Championship leaders Mike English and Andy Robinson are down in 7th place, opening the door for the leading 2 crews to gain ground in the standings. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins remain on top in Class D1, with Stephen and Jack Tilburn still under pressure from Paul Morrow and Callum Cross. The escorts of Michael Walton and Jamie Vaughan and Sean Weston and Dean Mevo are tied on times just behind. Bird and Morton are looking unbeatable in Class D2, but the resurgence of Paul Smith and Dale Bowen could cause Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon problems with a rapid final 2 stages, though that 30-second gap may be too much to overcome. Bird and Morton lead the event from D1 pair Morris and Hutchins. Mason and Matthews are having an outstanding day in 4th place, but Smith and Bowen in their quicker R5 are settling into the day, and it will be aiming to overcome the Class C duo. Don't go anywhere, we've got the final 2 stages to come after the break. Welcome back to round 4 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship, where Sam is about to chat to a special guest.
So we're here with Paul Sheard. Paul, you have a fab setup here today. It certainly looks the part, doesn't it? Just tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Okay, we try to do like a cheap and cheerful launch to get people into rallying. The escorts and the Talbots are so unaffordable. So it's £30,000-50,000 before you blink to get rear-wheel drive fun, and you don't need to go that fast if you can compete against one another. So the idea was to launch like a cheap and cheerful MX5 class, which you can do and hire very reasonably, and just go out and have a rally experience, which a couple of our lads are doing. In fact, there's 4 lads doing it here now. But obviously one's a Class C car and one's a Class B car, which is slightly more competitive. But it all brings a smile to the face and an introduction into rallying, which is great.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant the way you do it, because it is like an arrive and drive sort of thing, isn't it? And yeah, you've got all 4 cars out. You've got somebody leading their class currently as well, haven't you?
Yeah, of the 4 that we've got here, we've got the 2 in the MX5 class, and one of those quite naturally is leading. And also Paul Gorge in the Class B car is hanging on there in 3rd place, and it's putting him in good stead for the championship. And we're sort of with Ben at the weekend here as well, and Ben's close to leading the thing outright. So yeah, the MX5s are doing pretty well this weekend, all been good. As long as they stay running, that'll be mega.
Thanks, Sam. These MX5s are absolutely awesome. They're light and powerful and rear-wheel drive, so you can have loads of fun, and it's an affordable way of getting into rallying, especially competing in something like the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. Leading the MX5 class, as Paul just mentioned, are one-time British GT competitor Stephen Johansson and Christopher Cooper. I mentioned this escort's numbers earlier because it has special dispensation to compete with red numbers. This is in tribute to the late Mike Dawson, well known in Kent Motorsport, who sadly passed away just before Christmas. Mike had them on the car for the Lombard RAC Rally, and Ben, who regularly competed with his dad, toasted him in the service area after the event. On to the final 2 stages of the day, and we head into the darkness, and the competitors will start down on the rally school once again, this time finishing with a blast the wrong way round clearways and into the tricky final corner to the flying finish. Frank Bird and Jack Morton led the field away for stage 7 with a stunning time of some 26 seconds faster than anyone else. Frank has rapidly got to grips with rallying, and with his experience in single-seaters as well as rally cars, is quickly becoming a well-rounded driver. On board here with the D1 leaders Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. Watch how fast their Darien gets up to speed on the slippery surface. Pretty mega stuff, and it didn't finish there as they had an extra obstacle to contend with once again. You'll see what I mean. It's not every day you find an R5 parked on the apex of the hairpin. Leaders in Class C still and holding on to 5th overall now were Gary Mason and John Matthews, smoking, sliding and generally mistreating their escort to a strong finish. Similarly, Christopher and Anthony Newton had a huge lead in Class 8, the Nova they've had for 16 years, and some local knowledge helping them along their way for this event. Meanwhile in Class B, Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst were top of the championship point scorers and pulling themselves right into championship contention. Also in an MX5 were Ben Shaw and Hannah Chisler, who led Class B overall and were giving it plenty of welly. Hey, why not? With just a 1 second lead over Adam and Ray Ripper, Ron and Amy McCubbin were the top point scorers in Class A with 1 stage to go, but sadly Class B hopefuls Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish would retire just 1 shot short of our camera, spinning and clipping a curb which damaged a wheel beyond repair. On to stage 8, and there was no surprise really that Frank Bird and Jack Morton kept up the pace, once again going 25 seconds faster than anyone else to claim a dominant victory by over 2 minutes. But behind them there was plenty of drama which could have big impacts on the championship standings. Once more on board with Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins, who would not only claim the D1 class victory but also held on despite some solid final stages by Paul Smith and Dale Bowen to claim 2nd place overall, Barry's 1st overall podium in the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. As you can see, he wasn't holding back either. In the increasing darkness, Gary Mason and John Matthews would claim a commanding Class C victory and would take an excellent 4th place overall, as Tony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon suffered a final stage retirement when running in 3rd place. Even a slight mishap on the handbrake didn't hold Mason and Matthews back too much. Some great onboard footage throughout the day from our camera cars. There was also heartbreak for Ashley Davis and Freddie Hewitt. Listen as they exit this corner. Just a few miles from home, they retired from 2nd place in Class C.
Oh, it's broke something. Yeah. Just watch yourself and go to the grass. What?
Also unstoppable and just as dominant as Bird and Morton were Christopher and Anthony Newton in their Vauxhall Nova, finishing over 3 minutes ahead of anyone in Class A. Unbelievable. Despite the gap, Adam and Ray Ripper claimed maximum points in Class A as Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin took a maximum time on the final stage of the day. Ben Short and Hannah Chisler had really taken Class B by the scruff of the neck throughout the day and would claim a well-deserved victory despite the best efforts of Ben and Luke Dawson. However, Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst would claim maximum points in the championship standings in Class B, putting Paul to the top of the table, albeit without drop scores taken into account. Let's join Sam, who's speaking to the overall top 3.
Paul, Dale, we've got 3rd overall. We've got to be pleased with that.
Absolutely ecstatic. It's literally been a game of 2 halves today. This morning was fairly dreadful and I hit just about everything, and in the afternoon we got it together. More familiar with the car because it's the first time I've driven it. Okay. And then it came together. It felt really good in the afternoon. Yeah. And this guy has just never put a foot wrong.
What did we do tyre choice this morning? Because I know that was a big issue for quite a few people.
Yeah, we got it wrong in the morning. We went out on inters for the first stage and that's what we ran wide. We had 2 spins. And in 2nd stage, we went on back to wets, and that changed it completely. And then stage 3, back on the inters, it was ready for that then. The sun was out. It's been a beautiful day, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. All good from your side of the car, Dale? Happy?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I kind of expected a good result today, but when you do have it, it's even nicer. So yeah, I'm really pleased with Paul, and just first time out in the car, couldn't be happier really. So.
Huge congratulations, guys. 2nd overall, we are on the podium. You've got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, more than happy. Couldn't ask for better. First time here, cars in one piece, so yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Happy.
Absolutely. Well, first time here, like you say, the car is in one piece. Are we coming back for Cadwell?
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully, sort of do a bit better and get further than we did last time. We didn't quite go to plan, but no, this hopefully we can kick on now and sort of carry on the dry weather and get some cracking results towards the end of the year.
Jack, Frank, maybe a little bit of a challenging day. So, well, first thing in the morning, but again, hasn't phased you, has it?
Well, yeah, it's been a really good day. Once we got through the first stage, because it was a little bit icy, but it got better throughout the day, and car felt good all day thanks to the team. Jack was really good as always, so thanks to everyone, really good day, and can't wait for Cadwell Park.
Brill, and I mean, we are going for those overall championship points now, aren't we? We've still got 4 rounds to go. Are we going for the overall championship?
That's the plan. That's the whole. When we signed up for the championship in before Alton, that was the plan, to go for the championship. So far, so good with the remaining 4 rounds, and we have to get as many points as possible. So another good start of the year here as well.
Nice bit of a challenge to keep you going anyway. Massive congratulations once again, guys, and we'll see you in the next round.
Thank you.
Great work, Sam. Let's take a look at the final standings. And in Class A, nobody was catching the Newtons, but that late penalty for Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin means that Adam and Ray Ripper take maximum championship points, which will shake things up in this class. In Class B, Ben Short and Hannah Chislett were kept honest by Ben and Luke Dawson, but they couldn't quite overcome the master duo. Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst have the maximum championship point score, which brings them well into play for the title battle. Gary Mason and John Matthews enjoyed a superb overall result en route to their Class C success today with a solid margin of victory. Vince Sillett and Ollie Matthews will be delighted with second place championship points, as will Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen just behind. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins were the class of the D1 field today with a comfortable margin over the Tilburns, who quietly had a good day themselves. After that early damage, Mike Taylor and Martin Haggett clawed their way back up to third, which keeps them in the championship hunt. Frank Bird and Jack Morton were simply unstoppable today, well ahead of the R5s of Paul Smith and Dale Bowen, and Tim Self and Ian Davis. Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth will be pleased with a 4th place after that contact with Taylor and Haggett, which luckily didn't significantly damage their Mitsubishi. The overall results show Bird and Morton's domination, with Morris and Hutchins holding on ahead of Smith and Bowen in 3rd. Here's how things shake out in the Michelin Cup, where Mike Taylor remains top over Paul Morrow, but Paul Gorge and Mark Peterson are close in contention too. Barry Morris's great result also brings him well into play. In the Co-Drivers' Championship, Martin Haggett remains in first place, but quite frankly, any one of the next 7 contenders could easily get up there, as they're all performing strongly. You'd be brave to bet on a winner here. It's a similar story in the Drivers' Championship, where a strong finish for Mike Taylor keeps him in the lead over Paul Morrow, but Barry Morris has proved his pace today and could be in the mix. It's been a beautiful and exciting day at Brands Hatch. Thanks to Chelmsford Motor Club for hosting the event. We'll see you next time at Cadwell Park.